Shalom upon all the children of Israel and Judah forever. Welcome to my Zen Zone. This is the dawn of the day. Actually, dawn is just past. It is too much light right now to call it dawn. Dawn is when just while it is dark, it is still dark and turning at the turning point from dark to light in the morning. That's the dawning of the day. And right now there's too much light to call that dawn. As you can see, my background is the sun is up in the sky. Yeshua asked the question, are there not 12 hours in a day? Work while it is day. The night comes when no man can work. And so 12 hours in a day, and noontime, church bells ring. And the reason why that happens is because it's time to stop what you're doing and pray. It's an hour of prayer. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stop. Pray. Pause. Aloud. Pray. Pray aloud, cry aloud, because Psalm 55 verse 17 says it's not a moment of silence. It says, evening and morning and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice. Pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice. Evening and morning and at noon. So those specific times are the third hour of the day, the sixth hour of the day, the ninth hour of the day, what we call 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Those are three divinely appointed times when heaven opens its windows to hear your prayer. Daniel prayed at those times, and that's the reason why he was thrown into a den of lions, because he was faithful in worshiping his God at those times. Now, remember, Genesis chapter 3, after the fall of man, the story of the fall of man. After Adam and Eve sinned, they covered themselves with fig leaves because they saw the light of the glory of the Most High disappeared from their bodies, and they were naked, meaning that they did not have any artificial clothing. They had the light of Yah covered their physical forms. The light, because they were living in righteousness and holiness. And when you are living so holy, you will have the light of the glory of Yah shining on your physical body through your physical flesh. Like Moses, when Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights with the Most High. He came down, and the light shining from his face was so bright. The people say, hey, Moses, you got to put a veil over your face. That light is too bright. I can't stand to look at your face. It's too bright. The light is too bright shining from your face. Put a veil over your face. That's what being in the presence of the Most High does. It makes your body shine. It makes your physical form glow with the light. The presence of the Most High covers you, covers your nakedness. So bright that you don't have to wear clothes. So bright you don't have to wear clothes. Imagine that, huh? Imagine. That's what I want. So I don't have to wear white. I can wear light. Be covered with the glory of the Most High. That's what happens when you commune with Him. When you commune with Him and you meet with Him at His appointed times. So Yah came at that appointed time every day to speak with Adam and Eve in the garden, in the cool of the day. And I believe, in my opinion, every 3 hours. Every 3 hours. From dawn, 3 hours later, and then 3 hours later is noon. That's 6 hours. 3 hours later is what we call today 3 o'clock p.m. And then another 3 hours later at sunset. These are the times that heaven opens its windows to hear your prayer. Again, like I said, it's not a moment of silence. It is a pray. I will pray and cry aloud. Daniel did it. Paul and Silas did it when they were locked up in prison. At midnight they did it. And that's when their release came. Midnight is another appointed time. So let's count them. Let's say from morning. The first one is in the morning. at dawn. Dawn, and 3 hours later, the third hour of the day, that's 2. The sixth hour of the day, that's 3. The ninth hour of the day, that's 4. And then at sunset, that's 5. And then we have clearly at midnight, the psalmist says, David said, at midnight I will arise and pray and praise the name of the Most High. That's 6. Now, let's leave the 7th one for now and look at those 6. Can you implement that? Can you calibrate your life with heaven to be in prayer and worship at those specific times of the day and at midnight? And I assume throughout the night, every 3 hours, but I'm not sure. It is not, can't really specify that. Does not say that they are appointed times, but the scripture does specify the watch of the night. There are 4 watches of the night. The night is divided into 4 sections. The first 3 hours from sunset, then 3 hours after that leads up to midnight. That's the second. The midnight is the end of the second watch. And then 3 hours after that is what we call 3 o'clock in the morning. And then 3 hours after that, sunrise. But anyway, we want to focus on the clearly, divinely appointed times and calibrate our lives according to those times of the day for prayer. Give thanks and praise the Most High. This is Sabbath morning right now. This is the last Sabbath of the 3rd month of the biblical year. And I'm following the biblical year, not the Antichrist calendar. And in that, I love this, by the way. This is one of my, stop and pause for a second. This is one of my favorite versions. It's not a version. Not a version. It is a devotional. It is clearly a devotional. It clearly says that this is a devotional. It is not a version. It's not a translation. It's a devotional. But it brings out the scriptures so clearly. The clear word paraphrase. It's a paraphrase, right? The person who put this together, Jack Blanco, Pastor Jack Blanco, clearly said this is a paraphrase. It was his original devotional. He was doing his devotions and started out writing out as notes. It was just his notes, and it came up to this. This is the production of this, the clear word. Anyway, back to what I'm saying. The scriptures tells us that heaven's windows are open at those times to hear our prayers. Evening and morning and at noon will I pray and cry aloud. And the promise of the Most High says, He shall hear my voice at those specific appointed times. Again, you can pray whenever you want to. I'm not saying you can't. But what the scripture is saying is, what the law of the Most High is saying, is that this is regular. This is heaven on a clock. This is heavenly divine clock. You're either with it or you're not with it. Your choice. And I hope you choose to follow along heaven's time clock, heaven's calendar, and heaven's schedule, because it gets better than that. Like I said, this is the last Sabbath of the month of Sivan, the 3rd month. We're ending and closing the spring months. First 3 months is spring, the next 3 months is summer. So tomorrow being new moon, we enter into the first month of the summer season, which is the 4th month. The 4th month is called the month of fasting. The 5th month is called a month of fasting as well. The 7th and the 10th are also called months of fasting. But the 4th and the 5th doesn't have a specific name, so I just call it the months of fasting. The 4th and the 5th months of fasting, which have no Hebrew names. The 7th month name is Ethanim, and the 10th month name is Tivet, I think. Might be wrong. Anyway, nevertheless, my point I'm making is that I want to invite you to fast with me for the 4th biblical month of the year, the month of fasting, this moon that is coming up on the Antichrist pagan day called Sunday. This is what I think the second Sunday in the month of June. Another pagan god name, June, not a Hebrew name, and we should not mention the names. And I'm trying to avoid those because the scripture says, "Do not call the names of these gods in your mouth." Do not mention the names of these gods in your mouth. Don't even mention them. But sometimes I have to clarify what exactly I'm talking about so that you can follow what I'm saying and coordinate and calibrate your life according to the scripture, coming out of Babylon into the everlasting kingdom. So the scripture says, today is a day we should worship him, fear Yah, give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth, the sea, and the fountains of waters. The new moon is a day of worship. The new moon is a day of worship. The new moon is a day of worship. Next new moon is tomorrow, and that is a day of worship after this day, this Sabbath day today, which in the Antichrist calendar, like I said, is Saturday. But we want to worship him according to the new moon, as the scripture says, from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another. All flesh should come and worship. Worship. Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1 to 3. This says the same thing, that the new moon and the Sabbath days, the gates of Jerusalem should be open for worship and should be shut on the 6 working days. And so when the 7th day come, 7 days after the new moon, when the moon is half moon, is Sabbath. When the moon, 7 days later, the moon is full moon, that is Sabbath. 7 days after the new moon, after full moon, when it's the third quarter, the other half of the moon is also Sabbath. And then 7 days after that is the last crescent of the moon, which is today, the day like today, the last crescent of the moon, with their worship. And then after that is another new moon, time to worship on the new moon, to celebrate a new month. Not the pagan months, but the Most High has created months for us to worship him. He's created the weekly Sabbath for us to worship him. He's created his feast days for us to worship him. He's created solemn days, like even the 13th of Adar. Adar is the 12th month of the biblical year, and it's a time to celebrate and worship him, for he has delivered us from the hands of the Amalekites, the Americans. Yes, they are the ones, the Amalekites. He delivered us from their hands in the days of Esther, as a result of her praying and fasting for 3 days and 3 nights, no food, no water, going before the king, making her requests, making it plain that we need deliverance. And we will get every deliverance, every victory in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. I bless his name, I praise his name, and I want to keep my video short again. Believe I gave you enough to chew on. Till next time, shalom upon all the children of Israel and Judah forever.